All right. Good to go. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean. We've got a little random flight today that we're going to be discussing a few different things. We've got Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. We're going to get into some advertising, what advertisers or big brands are spending out there. And then we're going to get into some viral headlines.
Yeah.
And what makes them extremely viral. And it's pretty simplistic.
Yeah. It is. It's one formula or a series of formulas that we'll talk about on the viral headlines.
Yeah.
Sort of clickbaity, but they work. And then what to do afterwards. Because it's one thing to have a headline, but it's another to actually get your content enjoyed and read and shared and things like that.
Right. So, right.
So yeah, we'll talk about both of those. Yeah. And, we'll be quick. I got a good beer. I don't know if it's good. I've got an interesting beer picked for today.
Okay.
So, what do you got? I'll show you mine.
I don't have I've got an interesting art.
Okay.
We'll start with yours first.
I
love that.
Blue Owl Brewing, which is here in Austin, downtown.
Right.
It's called Adjunct Professor Black. It is a sour imperial stout with chocolate and orange.
Ooh, yeah. Chocolate and orange.
I do like chocolate and orange together. That's why it caught my attention. Some of those like Lindt chocolate bars that have the orange in it, one of my favorites for sure. So this is 9.1% ABV. Just the sour, I'm just not sure about that, how that's going to play out. So I'm not a huge sour fan, but
orange and chocolate just doesn't seem like they go together, but everybody's different.
Great. I think they go great. I love orange and chocolate together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because you've got some different things going there. You like to make, what is it? Your famous grilled cheese with the apple. You like the apple slice on the grilled cheese, which is kind of
and the donut
unique.
is the bread. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I like pears are great on grilled cheese as well. So yeah, it's just you got to have the little sweet, the little. I think this might be good.
I like sweet and salty. I'm not sure about sweet and sour, but everybody's different. So I've got
meal at a Chinese restaurant, sweet and sour pork, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
All right. So
that's
Arctic
true.
Panzer Wolf, man, going hardcore.
Yeah. Look at that. I love the website. I mean, I love the little motion can there. It's pretty cool. This is a double IPA though, so I don't know. Those are hit and miss.
Right.
9%. I was attracted to the art. I always get hooked in on that.
Yeah.
Art cover or the there's a lot going there. But this is by Three Floyds. So not much to say here. Dry and stupendously hopped, which means I'm gonna hate it. And lots of stuff in there that I have no idea. But I just see hop and bitterness, and they say scorched earth is our brewing policy. So we'll see. They're going to scorch this customer if it's too hoppy. That's for sure.
Artwork's got kind of like a 80s or 90s metal, 80s metal kind of feel.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. With those eyes.
Yeah. So the W and F, like all that's kind of that.
Yeah. Like a heavy metal poster or something. Yeah.
Ish font. So. All right. Well, let's.
Arctic Panzer Wolf. All right. This is what it looks like in a glass. Very hazy.
Mine is dark black.
So. Oh, looks great. All right, here we go.
Ooh. Wow, that is different. The sour hits you first for sure. So even though it's I guess it does say sour imperial stout, not just like imperial stout sour. Like, so they put the sour first. That's what's happening. I don't know. It's not bad. It's just totally different from what I'm used to drinking. But it's definitely not bad.
The sweet and tangy?
As the kids used to say, I don't hate it. Some of the language the kids are now, I mean, like the Gen Z stuff.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one where they're reading like the Bible, and there's somebody made a Gen Z Bible using the words and language they use?
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
I can't even understand it. Like, it's getting old. So
if it reads like a text, then I'm out.
Yeah, all the words.
Everything. There's no capital letters, no punctuation.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and rate, then you can rate yours. I'm gonna give this.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Like, it's pretty good. It's just so different.
Yeah.
From what I'm used to, but I think it's
3.5
as I drink it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it gets a little as the show goes.
Yeah, airs out.
You might revise that. Well, as expected, this is very hoppy. It's an Imperial IPA, so I hoped maybe it would be not as hoppy, but it's like an Imperial pine sol. So I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give it a 2.9.
Imperial pine sol.
I give it a 2.9. 2.9. Sorry, Three Floyds. I know you make some good stuff out there, but not a fan. Yeah. This ain't one.
You gotta love hops if you want to.
Yeah, this is a little too much.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's jump in with some Super Bowl stats. We got kind of a short show today up against the deadline. So we'll talk about the Super Bowl, and then we'll talk about the viral headlines. So I've got my notes pulled up over here on the screen. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you. I know you're looking at the notes, Jonathan, but
I'm cheating. No.
Yeah. So, what do you think I'll ask our listeners, and you can answer on their behalf. Like, what do we think a Super Bowl ad goes for these days in 2024? Well, the answer for 30 seconds. The answer. I've never
would have expected this. I would have said, if you had asked me without sending me this prior, I would have said probably about 3 million. So
that's where I would have been, like 3.5, something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the last number I heard a couple of years back or whatever.
Yeah.
We're up to $7 million now.
$7 million for 30 seconds.
Now, here's what's interesting. That's 165 times the original price in 1967, which was $42,000. So
wow.
I thought this was an interesting stat. Super Bowl ads have outpaced inflation. It's too bad you couldn't invest in them because adjusted for inflation, that 42,000 ad should be today 383,000.
Of course,
not 7 million. So that's a huge, huge jump. And how about this stat? The number of viewers planning to focus more on the ads than the actual game. We'll give our listeners a multiple choice. Is it A, 25%, B, 50%, or C, 75%?
Okay.
All right, so everybody lock in their vote. Final answer.
Ding, ding, ding. 25%.
25%.
Which I may put I actually may put myself in that 25% because I don't care for either one of these teams this year. So I'm going to be watching.
It's definitely a commercial year because I could care less about either team as well. But I thought that number would actually be higher.
Yeah.
This year, to be fair, some of these stats I think are from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we could probably add in another 10 to 15% that are just going to watch to see if Taylor Swift's in the in the suite this year. So
this she will be.
And this number here may be the most shocking for our direct response friends. Because what do we hear all the time from our crowd, Jonathan, about Super Bowl ads?
They don't work. No one remembers them.
Yeah,
right.
You can't track that. There's blah 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 blah. Like, you can't make any money. Like, it's just a waste of money. Blah, brand advertising. Rah rah. Like, our crowd, a lot of people in our crowd, the direct response crowd, is anti-brand marketing.
Yes.
But the research shows that for every dollar spent on the Super Bowl ad, it yields
$4.60.
$4.60.
Yeah.
That's a 4.6 ROI. That's better than Facebook ads for a lot of people these days.
So how do they track that? I mean,
I don't know. They got lots of computers and stuff.
That's right.
I'm guessing they look at, obviously you're not going to know exactly, but when you have a bump coming off the Super Bowl, you get a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not as exact as whatever, but with tracking these days on Facebook ads and everybody being on social media and your stuff spread everywhere, I would argue that nobody knows exactly where a lot of their advertising is really working. Because I've been behind the scenes, and people that think the Facebook ads doing it, if you install the right software, you find out that it's actually an email that they found through Instagram, link in bio, and you just thought it was the Facebook ad because that was the last thing they clicked on.
Right.
But it wasn't actually how they came into the world. So
let's look at it from our perspective as consumers. Have you ever, Sean, can you remember a time where you ever saw a Super Bowl ad and went out and got a product based off the ad that ran during that 3 or 4 hour game? Because I'm trying to think if I've ever saw something.
I've certainly looked up products when they've aired. I don't know that I've bought one.
One comes to mind for me.
What would that be?
Those you remember the popcorners? I think was that last year? Those air popped, they're like, or air fried type. They're not fried. They're air popped. They're like Dorito chips, but they're like, they don't use, they're different. They're actually pretty good, but I did, just out of curiosity. It's not like I was became a brand buyer or, a consumer, a regular consumer after that, but I didn't want to try them after that.
If 10 people took that same approach, for every 10 people,
that's
one
right.
person might have become a year-long thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
And the lifetime customer value and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to say. I never trust my own experience as it's a nice little test, but
right.
It's also, we kind of, I would say I probably, if I see a really good ad, sometimes maybe I'm more likely to visit that in the next 2 or 3 months. Let's say Taco Bell, it's kind of fallen off my radar. See a good Taco Bell commercial, and I'm like, doesn't sound bad. And the next week or two, I'm craving Taco Bell. With a company that size,
of course,
$7 million a bump to get to 30 million. When you're a $3 billion company, right? So some of these numbers, you got to remember, if we're talking about 7 million spent, and some of them buy 3 or 4 commercials, they need to hit 40 or 50 million. Well, that's not as hard if you're a $2 or $3 billion company to get that ROI. Because they're already out there. They're already a lot of these. The brands are out there. So that's the other side of it. It's a little easier to hit those numbers when you're as big as you are. So, and when you're selling cars or whatever, right? Somebody's watching, and they see the new Mercedes. Because cars are one of the top advertisers.
Oh, sure.
So you don't need a whole lot of car sales.
No.
To start hitting some of those numbers. So
no.
All right. Well, let's jump into viral headlines explained in 3 words.
It makes me think.
That's actually part of the formula right there. That is the formula.
It only takes 3 words. Before we move on, I just wonder, this is off the topic of the Super Bowl. It has nothing to do. But I wonder how many, it's sports related. I just wonder how many people out there who are Alabama fans. Nick Saban, he eats those Little Debbie's. I wonder just how much influence that has on Alabama fans. How many typical Alabama fans go out and get a Little Debbie and have it in the morning because Nick Saban does? That would be some fine research.
Yeah, that would be some. I'm sure there's a doctoral student at University of Alabama that would take that on. When we lived in Chattanooga, we lived right outside of Chattanooga, Cleveland. Yeah. Between kind of in that area out in the middle of nowhere. We drove by the Little Debbie factory.
Really?
Right there. And you could smell when they were making the oatmeal cream pies.
Wow.
You could just smell that oatmeal baking. So good. So we bought probably more Little Debbie's in our time we lived there, just because like you're constantly reminded of it.
Hey, that's perfect. Yeah.
That's what they need to do is just throw these scent. You know, when they have scent producing speakers in your car.
Yeah.
And so when the food ad comes on, it's like wafts in the smell of whatever.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
That would be amazing. That'd be really cool. There's a $1 billion idea for somebody out there in our listenership.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Just waiting.
Any other commentary you want to get into, Jonathan?
No.
Snacks and sports and stuff. Are you hungry today?
I am. Chips, oatmeal cream pies. I didn't eat much lunch today, so where my mind's wandering to. But no, let's get into headlines because this is fascinating to me.
So we're actually going to demonstrate this, and I pulled this from a newsletter I get called Pen Pivot.
Okay.
Like writing pen, pivot, PEN, and then pivot like friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they give some really cool marketing advice. It's a great newsletter. Go sign up.
Yep.
We'll steal stuff in the future as well.
Perfect.
So this was it. So viral headlines explained in 3 words is an example of the very thing we're talking about, right? It's like, oh, I want to hear about that, right?
Yeah.
Viral headwords in 3 words.
Mm-hmm. So
there's two pieces to this. You've got the content, and then you've got to deliver on the promise.
Yeah.
Right. So first, though, before we actually say what it is, let's say why this tends to work. Before we give the 3 words.
Okay.
So, if we look at the headline, viral headlines explained in 3 words, there's 3 reasons why it works. 1, it suggests that the information will be easy to digest and be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would have to be if it's that
sure
cut down, right?
Yeah.
People love simplicity.
Okay.
Of course, as humans, we also like to make things incredibly complex. It also makes people curious. Like, how are they going to do that? Like in 3 words, like,
Yeah.
So the 3 words in this example are simplify the complex.
Right.
Now, they made a good point in the article when they wrote this. They're like, okay, so and they went on to explain it like we're about to do. But they said, now, if you just had a click through from viral headlines explained in 3 words, you click through to that, and all it said was simplify the complex and nothing else, you'd be a little disappointed in the content, even though it did exactly what the headline said.
Sure.
Right? Because now that you know what the 3 words are, you're like, well, how does it work?
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of cool because you get the curiosity of like the simplicity, but at the same time, then once they hear the 3 words, they're going to be like, oh, well,
yeah, right.
How does that work? And that gives you the chance to then expand your content, just like we're about to do, and they did in the newsletter. Yep. So here's some examples they gave in the newsletter that I thought were really good. So there's 4 different examples here. So you can summarize like a word count, which is the one we just did, right? So chemical engineering explained in 10 words.
Yeah.
So that's the formula, right? X subject matter explained, broken down, whatever, into X words. One of the first things that did this that went really mainstream was CrossFit.
Yeah.
Right? They said fitness in 100 words.
Right.
Today, that would get no clicks. You'd be like, I ain't reading 100 words. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when that came out 20, 30 years ago, I don't know when that came out. It's been a long time. Before CrossFit was mainstream, fitness in 100 words was like, that was their manifesto. And it was, it did really well. So that's one, is to summarize a word count. You want to take the next one?
Yeah. Time-based simplification. Are we moving on past the example? Or
no, we'll go through all 4 examples.
Okay. So this one, especially for me, this is intriguing. Chemical engineering explained in 10 words. That is it builds curiosity. It makes, as we mentioned earlier, the simplicity factor creates a lot of curiosity there because and especially in the engineering field, that kind of goes against what most people would consider to be true.
Be super complex, right? Yeah.
It's like, there's no way, so
that might be a cool headline for you, Jonathan. Like,
yeah,
one of your more technical things, like explained in,
yeah,
well, actually, you could use the next one for your business, right? Because let's say you were trying to get a meeting, an initial meeting.
Yep.
Maybe you say, like, how would you use the second formula, time-based simplification, like in an email headline for something you do?
Cost-saving initiative for, let's see, I wouldn't say initiative. That's bad copy, but that's terrible copy. Let's see, a cost savings technology explained in under 10 minutes. I'm trying to keep it simple, but it's along those lines. Technology, something new, cost saving technology explained in under 10 minutes. So
So the one they gave here in the example is U.S. politics explained in under 2 minutes.
Right? Yeah.
And the key thing with this is you do have to kind of play with like the number, right? So is 10 words too many, not enough? Like, at some point, like 27 words, that feels like it's, going to get too long. Right. Like the CrossFit example, like 20 years ago, 100 words was fine. Today, we want it less, right? One of the news, the books that we like, the 16-word sales letter. It's kind of the same thing, right? It's like, it's kind of playing off that same curiosity. Like, 16 words for a whole sales letter? I got to know more. And then there's a 150-page book about it. So just because you say this doesn't mean that you have to deliver all the information in these constraints. It just, it's going to get you in the door. So I could see something for you, Jonathan, like, one of the product lines that you sell, explained in 17 minutes, and you try to get that first appointment, which is a 17-minute Zoom call or something.
Right. Yep.
You use a little curiosity, all that kind of stuff. So this one was
cost savings a big. That one's a big one right now. So if you can use it to, especially marketing, depends on who you're marketing to. So that's a winner for a buyer. But sometimes they're looking at upfront costs, not like uncovered cost. They're looking at like the front end, not the back end. So you got to be careful. But there's ways you could use this depending on what level you're targeting within an organization. Sometimes it's cost, sometimes it's time saving, material saving.
I thought this next one was kind of cool. A brief bullet points promise. So 5G networks explained in 5 bullet points.
Right.
Okay. Yep. I could see this, like, especially the bullet points. I could see this working well in like on LinkedIn in a more corporate environment where they're used to like presentations and things like that. But I wonder, I think you could also do something like personal development explained in 5 quotes. Right? And you take 5 famous quotes from different people and you share that.
Right.
That reminds me of like James Clear's 321 newsletter, or Tim Ferriss's 5 points, 5 points, 5 bullet Friday or whatever it was. So that's one. So you can just pick 5 bullet points, 5 quotes, 5, whatever. Heck, you could even do, if you wanted to have fun with it, you could say, 5G networks explained in 5 memes or 5 GIFs. That'd be a very interesting like email subject line. If you said 5 GIFs, like people want to open that and see what GIFs how do you explain this in 5 GIFs? Yeah. That could be a fun one to have a little fun with.
I love the example they write down, and this goes down in the process, blockchain. That would have definitely worked. Blockchain explained in 7 words. Yeah. Obviously, during the early days of blockchain, that would have been a great headline to use.
Yeah. So, basically what you're going to do is how do you simplify this down into a few words? And then you kind of reverse engineer it. Either pick one of the things we've just explained. And I like what they did on the last example. Set a specific sentence limit. Indoor plant maintenance explained in 3 sentences. So let's say you can't get it down to 5 words. You could get it to 3 sentences. So that's where it's like, okay, if I'm getting into 27 words to make my point and I can't figure out any way to make it shorter, then maybe I say 2 sentences or 3 sentences. Now it sounds short again.
Right.
It's kind of like, is 30 days or 1 month feel less?
Right.
This is something we always had to do. That's kind of the art of copy when you're writing copy. We would play with those numbers back and forth. Like, okay, is 45 days better or is like a month and a half better? 90 days or 3 months?
Yeah.
90 days sounds shorter than 3 months, typically. Yeah. But 365 days sounds longer than 1 year sometimes. It just depends on the context a little bit. So you kind of have to play with these. Do I want words or sentences? Do I want,
a paragraph, 1 paragraph?
Yeah.
Or 3 sentences or,
Yeah, because indoor plant maintenance is plain in 1 paragraph. I mean, that's still intriguing.
Yeah.
Right. But it's better than saying 50 words.
Yeah.
So you find that, and then once you've done that and you get them in, you want to reveal what those 3 words, the 3 sentences, the 5 bullets, whatever is. Then you go on and you explain in more detail, just like we're doing right now, right?
Yep.
So 7 or 8 minutes ago, we said, simplify the complex. That was the 3 words. And then we rambled for 20 minutes wherever we were at. And we're like, okay. So, and then we come to the end. So you get the payoff for promising, because there's nothing worse than having a promise and a headline and then you don't deliver on it. It just ruins any trust rapport you have with your reader.
Sure. Yep.
So if you pay that off quickly, then they're like, okay, he told me what I wanted to know, but now I want to know more.
Right.
And then you kind of got unspoken permission to keep going at that point.
Sure.
And if they don't want to read the rest, they don't have to. You still delivered on your promise.
Deliver it up front, like you said. Absolutely.
So it's I thought that was a fun one. So it's nice to have a newsletter where we can just steal all their stuff now.
Let's give credit once again before
Pen Pivot. For those of you listening or watching, the Pen Pivot, it's penpivot.com.
Okay.
And they
pen as in the writing pen.
Yeah,
pen
it's a daily email newsletter. And they talk about different marketing stuff. Let's see if they have what their homepage looks like. There you go. The Pen Pivot. Penpivot.com. Not even an affiliate link. Just go to penpivot.com. You can sign up right away. Oh, thank you. I forgot to put that on the screen. Free newsletter teaches creators and marketers the psychology-backed secrets behind getting people to click, read, view, and engage with their content. And
I'm subscribing.
Yeah, they're good. And I've recently they've had like really good Chat GPT prompts. They go kind of all in, just like we do on this show. They kind of go all over the place.
Sure.
They've been very, very actionable ideas that I've seen from them. So definitely worth.
I'm stealing. I'm stealing from this. I can use it for other stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm
using
it with clients. Which is the whole point, right? It's,
absolutely.
They want you to use their stuff.
Yeah.
So you keep reading, and then they get their sponsor money. Everybody benefits. So
very cool. Very cool.
Right. Well, we are at your hard stop, Jonathan. So.
All right. So we can we'll wrap it up. And who do you got real quick before we get out of here? Who do you got in the Super Bowl?
Who's playing? 49ers and that other team?
Exactly. That's a good question. Taylor Swift versus.
I literally forgot who the other team is.
It's San Francisco and Kansas City. Kansas City.
Everybody forgets about those flyover states.
Yep. They used to be, it used to be easy to root for them but it's just, it's how everything goes. Eventually you turn into the you turn into the nemesis, the ones that no one likes.
Yeah, you win too much. Nobody likes that. Keep your place, man.
Your success becomes.
Yep.
becomes
so for I really like Christian McCaffrey, so I'm gonna go with the 49ers.
Yes.
Like, that dude is just a workhorse.
He is.
Yeah, I think
Great
he
team.
should have won Most Valuable Player.
Yep.
I think he had the biggest effect on that. I think he was much more of an effect on that team than Brock Purdy was.
Yep.
So
I'll go with you, but I'll say Brock. I'm a big fan of Brock Purdy. I like the underdog, and the guy that's not even barely making league minimum is the starting quarterback.
Mr. Irrelevant.
So
he'll make some money next year. Don't worry.
He will. But until then, I'm rooting for him. I like those stories, and I was a fan of Joe Montana back in the day. So I kind of have some. I realize they've won one. I think they've won one since Joe Montana, but those were the glory days for the 49ers. So those were the good days. All right. To all of our listeners, you can find us persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your platforms. And if you find us, check us out, subscribe, leave us 5 stars. Sean, we'll see you all. We'll see you next week. We'll see all of you next week. And take care. Have a great weekend.
See ya.